There are advantages in this world that never appear on paper. They aren't advertised. They aren't taught in school. And yet, for centuries, a small group of men learned how to recognize one another, without saying a word. Not through uniforms. Not through public titles. But through symbols, handshakes, and a shared oath that quietly opened doors. Freemasonry. To some, it's a charity organization. To others, it's a shadow network hiding in plain sight. And to a former 33rd degree Mason who once stood at the highest honorary level of the Scottish Rite, it was something far more powerful than most people imagine. Not supernatural. Not occult. But influential. The question is not whether Freemasons exist. They do. The question is what membership has historically provided, and to whom. Freemasonry began formally in 1717, when the first Grand Lodge was established in London. What started as guild traditions from medieval stonemasons evolved into a fraternity of thinkers, merchants, politicians, and rising elites. It wasn't a religion. It wasn't a government. It was a network. And networks, throughout history, have always shaped power. What most people never realize is that in the 18th and 19th centuries, formal institutions were limited. There were no LinkedIn profiles. No public databases. No transparent hiring systems. Trust was everything. If you wanted to know whether a man could be trusted with money, influence, or state secrets, you didn't Google him. You looked for a sign. Take Benjamin Franklin. Printer. Inventor. Diplomat. Founding father. He was also an active Freemason. When Franklin traveled to France in 1776 seeking support for the American Revolution, he wasn't walking into a foreign land as a stranger. French lodges already respected him as a brother. Historians note that Masonic connections smoothed social introductions in Parisian elite circles. Access doesn't announce itself. It simply removes friction. Franklin still had to persuade. But he entered rooms others never could. This wasn't written down in diplomatic treaties. It didn't need to be. Then there was George Washington. Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. First President of the United States. Washington was publicly open about his Masonic affiliation. He attended lodge meetings. He laid the cornerstone of the U.S. Capitol in a Masonic ceremony. Was America founded as a Masonic state? No. There is no credible evidence of that. But many of its early leaders shared lodge membership. And in a fragile new nation, shared membership meant shared trust. Trust accelerates cooperation. Cooperation accelerates power. Across the Atlantic, Freemasonry spread through the British Empire. Governors, judges, military officers, and merchants joined lodges in colonial territories. In places like Canada and parts of West Africa, Masonic lodges became meeting points for administrators and businessmen. This is where the advantage becomes clearer. Imagine being a young lawyer in the 1800s. No family wealth. No established name. But you join a lodge. Suddenly, you're not just another ambitious man. You're a brother. That word carried weight. If a fellow Mason sat on a hiring committee, or in a courtroom, or on a trade board, there was a presumption, not of favoritism necessarily, but of shared moral code. That presumption mattered. It meant recommendations traveled faster. Introductions carried more weight. Warnings came earlier. And then there is the 33rd degree. In the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, the 33rd degree is not something one simply earns through application. It is an honorary degree, awarded to members who have shown exceptional service to the fraternity or society. It does not grant mystical power. But symbolically, it signals status within the network. A former 33rd degree Mason once described it not as a throne, but as a vantage point. You don't control the world, he said. You just know who's in the room. That knowledge alone can change a man's trajectory. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, Masonic membership lists often overlapped with business boards and political offices. In the United States, presidents such as Theodore Roosevelt and Harry S. Truman were Freemasons. Truman, in particular, was deeply involved. He once said he valued the fraternity because it brought together men of different religions and political beliefs under a shared moral structure. Again, not secret domination, but elite proximity. When influential men meet regularly in private lodges, bonds form. Business partnerships emerge. Political alliances solidify quietly. No press release is required. Critics have long accused Freemasonry of favoritism. And history does show moments of public backlash. In 1826, the disappearance of William Morgan, a man who threatened to expose Masonic rituals, sparked the anti-Masonic movement in the United States. It became one of the first third parties in American politics. The backlash itself reveals something important. People believed the fraternity had influence strong enough to protect its own. Whether exaggerated or not, that perception alone shows how powerful the network appeared to outsiders. But here is where reality replaces myth. There is no credible evidence that Freemasons conduct satanic rituals. Mainstream Freemasonry explicitly requires belief in a supreme being but does not prescribe a specific religion. It forbids political and religious debate within lodge meetings. The occult image largely grew from secrecy and symbolism, aprons, compasses, allegorical ceremonies. Mystery invites imagination. Silence breeds suspicion. And yet, when historians examine lodge archives, what they find are meeting minutes about charity drives, hospital funding, scholarship programs, and member welfare funds. The tension often comes not from evidence of wrongdoing, but from discomfort with unseen networks. Because access doesn't announce itself. It simply exists. So what did a 33rd degree Mason really reveal? Not hidden altars. Not forbidden rituals. But something subtler. He revealed that the real power of Freemasonry was never supernatural. It was relational. It was the power of being vouched for before you arrived. The power of walking into a city and already having allies. The power of reputation transferred through symbols instead of resumes. In a world before digital verification, that was revolutionary. Today, the fraternity is far less dominant than it once was. Membership numbers have declined in many Western countries. The internet replaced some of what lodges once provided: networking, knowledge exchange, social mobility. But the legacy remains. Many historical buildings still bear the square and compass. Many leaders still quietly list membership in biographies. And somewhere, tonight, in cities across America, Britain, Canada, and Africa, men are still gathering behind closed lodge doors. Not to rule the world, but to reinforce bonds the outside world rarely sees. Are Freemasons an occult society? There is no credible historical proof of satanic governance or supernatural control. Are they a secret network that historically offered advantages unavailable to ordinary people? The evidence suggests yes. Not through magic. Through access. And access, throughout history, has always separated those who wait outside, from those already inside. The darkest secret of Freemasonry may not be darkness at all. It may simply be this. Power rarely needs to hide in shadows. Sometimes, it just meets quietly. And unless you know the handshake, you may never realize the door was there. If this made you think differently about power, about history, about the systems we never see, then maybe you're starting to ask the right questions. Subscribe. There's more hidden in plain sight than you realize. And we're just getting started.